When is ONDO finally going to pop? In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what I believe is about to happen and why ONDO is about to be one of the best performing altcoins this alt season.
You know, narratives come and go, but it does feel like this one, with regards to RWA's tokenization, is only really at the beginning stages, which feels crazy because crypto's been around for so long, and it's like, wow, like this was the obvious thing all along. Like we tried so much other stuff, but like, why didn't we just try this?
I'll give you a fun fact. I used to manage digital assets within McKinsey with the consultancy, and the first project I did for TradFi was in 2016, and it was about tokenization. So already back then, it was the, what can we do with this technology? Obviously, since then, it hasn't really played out as fast as what a lot of people thought. I do think this time is different, in part because you have a lot of stablecoin liquidity out there. On-chain adoption is real. The whole concept of tokenization to facilitate access to an interesting asset for a global audience. DeFi exists now, it didn't exist back then. So I think the time really is now to start moving all of this stuff on chain. The adoption will probably take slightly longer than what we think, but I think the primitives truly are getting built right now.
Now, personally, I believe you want to get into ONDO before the adoption begins, but we're already there. Now, I could explain this by showing you the fact that the first ever RWA tokenization ETF, or exchange traded fund, was just filed by 21 shares for ONDO Finance, which of course would bring massive institutional value. But I believe the charts are actually telling us the same story. And that's that ONDO is finally about to break past its major resistance level of $1.10. And I'm going to give you a price prediction at the end of this video. But if this happens, it could finally confirm that ONDO's chain, ONDO price action, ONDO as a company, ONDO products, all really start to be seen by the broader market. As of right now, ONDO is sitting at 97 cents, pulling back with Bitcoin and rest of the altcoin market. But what's interesting is on Coinbase, you can see the buyer ratio is 73%. There are way more buyers right now than sellers, specifically on ONDO as a product. The volume in the last 24 hours has surged by 100%. Now, ONDO is down 26% in comparison to things like Ethereum, down 15% against it and 28% against Bitcoin. But when you read through the performance, volume surging, now ranking among the top 10 most traded DeFi assets, maintains top 10 position in DeFi yearly performance. Plus all the major partnerships we've covered, like Pantera Capital, which is investing $250 million into the ONDO ecosystem. The announcement of the XRP Ledger integration. But what perhaps is the most bullish case here for ONDO is going to be the ONDO BTC chart. You can see that ONDO has found support against Bitcoin at the 0.83191 level against Bitcoin. The stochastic on the 4-hour, you could see that it has bottomed out, that it's doubled, potentially triple bottomed on the stochastic, and now the MACD has an insanely bullish divergence in terms of selling pressure, which tells us that more or less in the coming days or coming weeks, ONDO is going to see a break to the upside. And if we test this for the 4th time, I am expecting a breakout. Now, what a breakout could look like is on the regular chart of ONDO USDT. We are in this massive megaphone pattern that has been really developed since the beginning of the launch of ONDO. Now, what I'll be targeting is, of course, sometime in the cycle, whether it is end of year 2025 or beginning of 2026, a $3 price point at the Fibonacci level of 1.618 on ONDO's chart. But in the near term, in the following days, if not weeks, what I'm going to point out is this reverse head and shoulder pattern, which if we get the confirmation above the reverse neckline here at $1.10, we could be expecting a price surge upwards of $1.57. Now, what might push us there? Of course, it could be the ETF catalyst. I believe it could be an announcement alongside their institutional partners, as we just saw JP Morgan settle its first ever tokenized treasury transaction on a public blockchain using ONDO Finance. And while we could pull back to 92 cents here with some of this liquidity that you could see on FOMO.io, we are starting to develop a ton of liquidity towards $1.06. That, alongside the Genius Act just passing, stablecoin adoption is going to be larger than ever. And stablecoins is going to be a narrative that turns into, my opinion, a bubble. I believe we're about to watch The AI bubble probably pop a bit, but stablecoins and tokenization really start to grow. And ONDO's at the forefront of this. If you haven't read through the press release, go check out what it means for the stablecoin and Genius Act. But this is exactly what ONDO chain is being built for. And we still don't necessarily know what the value of ONDO is going to be here, which in my opinion, seeing what Nathan has done as CEO of ONDO with all of their institutional value partners and interests, we could expect some pretty big supply demand changes from ONDO as it's integrated. And they haven't even launched their tokenized equity market yet. It's right around the corner. We don't know if it's next week, if it's in a few weeks, if it's in a few months. We don't know if it's going to be alongside an announcement with Robinhood. There could be numerous institutional partners that utilize the tokenized equity platform that ONDO themselves is launching. So personally, I believe the surge is right around the corner. ETH BTC is getting rejected right off the resistance level that we predicted in the Discover Crypto Discord. So make sure you guys go join that completely for free. And while we do have a hidden divergence, bearish divergence, mind you, that could bring this down a little bit more towards support. After a little bit jump higher on Bitcoin dominance and a little bit lower on Ethereum's BTC, I believe over the coming days, you're going to be looking at the best possible chance of entry point on some of your favorite altcoins before what could potentially be the true and final leg up in this market. Now, it may not happen, and people are talking about the bull market, yeah, believe it or not, being over. But in my opinion, it'd make way more sense to see a price surge upwards of $125,000 to $130,000, wiping out over about $10 billion in short positions on the market, rotating that capital into alt, where retail misses out on the entire opportunity, FOMOing into the top of the market, and market makers once again rinse them for their liquidity. Let me know in the comments. Do you believe this bull market is over? Yes or no? And what is your ONDO price prediction for the end of 2026?